Greetings, my fellow Americans. I am the Bass Mind. That's a Black American spiritual superstar. And we know that there's a great deal of confusion and turmoil in our nation today. So this topic today is to share with you how I feel as a Black American descendant of slavery here in America. I'm embarrassed, angry, hurt, but still Black and inspired here today in America. I am pained and exasperated by the recent turn of events resulting from the death of George Floyd and other Black Americans. In the past, public lynchings of Blacks was a local experience. The national psyche was impacted by the sheer magnitude of occurrence and recurrence. In today's digital reality, Mr. Floyd's public lynching was expanded to a global audience. Individuals thousands of miles away could share the anguish felt by those a few feet away. In this instance, the lynch mob's traditional function of crowd intimidation and control, as well as the execution itself, was expedited by policemen. There is no precedent for a public lynching of such graphic repulsion being imposed into the memory of so many. America remains stunned and horrified. Black grief spilled out into the streets, and American cities felt the brunt of 250 years of anger and frustration. The diversity represented in the protesters was a startling development. For what seemed like an eternity, America was united in its shared anguish and disgust. Empathy overflowed for the struggle of Black existence in America. This tragedy struck a nerve in the consciousness of America's self-esteem and perceived identity. The Black versus white, rich versus poor, capitalism versus socialism, North versus South, progressive versus conservative, religious versus secular, Democrat versus Republican, big cities versus small towns, big states versus small states, nationalism versus globalism, are all topics discussed and couched within an abyss of race, racism, and Black oppression. White privilege and white supremacy, wow. Thought we had been there and done that. Let us go back in time to the early 1960s. There were two dynamic Black leaders impaling America's conscience with penetrating daggers. Malcolm X said that white peoples were evil incarnate or devils who had created a hell on earth for the Black man here in America. Malcolm articulated a spectrum of institutional, systemic beliefs, values, attitudes, laws, and practices that collectively traumatized the Black existence in America. Dr. Martin Luther King admonished white America for misrepresenting their Christian heritage. He denounced America's treatment of the Black man as being inconsistent with the exalted principles that this nation was founded upon, such as inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. America had a choice to make. America made the right choice. Today, overt racism is a societal pariah. Overt racism represents a liability to business endeavors, death to political ambition, and ostracism to communal cohesion. America had a choice, and America made the right choice. The Black man was conquered, captured, enslaved, and oppressed for more than 300 years in these United States of America. The American brand of sadistic, immoral, inhuman enslavement, oppression over an extended period of time encouraged a uniquely profound evolution within the Black man. Survival and endurance mandated an internal focus, cultivation, and adheres to a spiritual belief and value system. A deep hunger and desire for humanity, acceptance that was scarce in the oppressed environment became embedded in the black man's existence. A hunger and desire for spiritual insight, spiritual conviction, closeness to the Creator, self-esteem, love, companionship, loyalty, gratitude, humility, dignity, pride, mercy, justice, achievement, purpose, family progression, and upward mobility resulting from 300 years of encasement in America's oppressive incubator has created a cutting-edge spiritual and cultural sensitivity in the enlightened black mind. What is often overlooked, misunderstood, or misconstrued is the fact that the black experience has not been unilateral, separate, or isolated. The reality of the black man's experience conjoined with the white man's experience, the harsh, debilitating exposure to 300 years of oppressive experiences also had a profound effect upon the white man. The creation, the building, maintaining, and defending America has been a shared evolutionary trek for both white and black. Now, integration, as we know it today, has wreaked a havoc upon the black community infrastructure and black business development. We talk about it all the time, how the communities are devoid of certain leaders and success figures. The low visibility of community-based leadership role models has had a debilitating effect upon the black family. But despite the enormous cost of this sacrifice, integration continues to enhance black-white interaction and cultural assimilation. The Americanization of this nation's melting pot is a phenomenon wondrous to behold. One of the results of the Vietnam War is the fact that many small town white youths and soldiers in the Vietnam War were very young. They averaged 19 years old. But many of those young small town white country boys went to Vietnam and had their first intense, in-depth, up-close exposure to urban black males. And that has had a profound effect on the spiritual assimilation of blacks and whites in this country. I'm reminded of discussions that occurred many years ago with a group of militant young activist brothers that I had. Some of who had involved from the Black Panther Party membership. During the discussion, I presented my sinking boat analogy. This is what I said. America is this great, magnificent ship at sea, riding turbulent waves. There are other ships afloat, both allies and adversaries. Now, I may have a problem with my treatment on the boat, my status on the boat, or the way others may be favored on the boat. I may lack confidence in the captain or his crew. And I may resent the rules and regulations that govern the boat. But I'm going to have issues with anyone who seeks to punch holes in the boat, sabotage the boat, or align with enemies of the boat, or seek to harm the viability of this boat to remain above water. No. If you're trying to sink this boat that I'm on, I have a problem with it. I have a stake in this boat. That's the sinking boat analogy. One of the young brothers in that discussion was Akeo Abdul Samad, a good friend of mine, who is presently a state representative in Des Moines, Iowa. Mr. Samad embodies a legacy demonstrating a lifetime of devotion to the struggle of improving the American experience. There is a commonality, a oneness, a bonding that has occurred among the citizens of this United States of America. In this time of spiritual darkness and confusion, America is seeking guidance from the light of spiritual enhancement that exists within its black community segments. It is imperative for our nation's black superstars to understand the vulnerabilities that exist within our great society and be mindful of leading the way to an enlightened future. We have to hold our black superstars to a higher accountability, a higher standard, because we are being looked to for guidance and direction. Now, allow me to link three black superstars to the three emotions I mentioned at the beginning of this discussion. One, I said I was embarrassed, and I'm going to link Cornel West, an African American philosopher, political activist, social critic, author, and public intellectual. Really deep brother. This esteemed black American superstar recently described America as a failed social experiment. Really, Mr. West? America represents the apogee of human nationalistic evolution, the apex of the Caucasian, European, Christian civilization that dominates the global culture today. America is an amazing constitutional order representative of cherished human ideals that has encouraged worldwide migration to its shores. This incredible fusion of democracy, social freedom, and capitalism has created the greatest sharing of wealth expansion known to man. The sharing of wealth expansion. Above all, this nation produced Cornel West, an impressive example of human achievement. 200 years ago, if a slave about to relinquish life under the fling of the whip, the tightening of the noose, or any other form of imposed trauma, if that slave could have been granted a fleeting vision of Cornel West existing 200 years in the future, as life ebbed from his or her body, that slave would have been awash with a gentle peace and tranquility, knowing that their progeny would one day entail a Cornel West. Mr. West, you owe this nation an apology. Anger. Let me direct my anger at Colin Powell, 4-star general, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Secretary of State, National Security Advisor, just an esteemed, accomplished human being who has served this nation for years. Colin Powell possesses a most distinguished record of service to this country. Mr. Powell, as a soldier, embodies all that we respect and admire about the men and women that put their lives on the line to defend and protect our nation. His career personifies the essence of competence, order, discipline, and adheres to the change of command protocol. Mr. Powell recently has called the President and Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America a liar. He called President Trump a liar. Really, Mr. Powell? You are a person that lied to your president, lied to the American people, lied to the international community in order to facilitate an agenda supported by various executive branch officials. I cannot judge the prudence of your behavior. We have to trust that our leaders are acting in the best interests of the nation. But President Trump's only offense is his determination to push an agenda that he believes will strengthen America, put American citizens first, and foster opportunities for Americans to prosper. Mr. Powell, your attack begets disgrace upon your superstar leadership legacy. Mr. Powell, you owe President Trump an apology. And hurt. I'm hurt about Miss Candace Owens, a political activist, conservative commentator, dynamic, young black sister. Miss Owens offers a brilliant conservative voice to the national debate concerning race relations, political perceptions, and the choices blacks should make to advance towards gaining parity in America. Her profound articulation skills and distinctive perspective propelled her to the forefront of an impressive, youthful leadership cadre. Her political potential rivals that of her ideological counterpart, whom we're all familiar with, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Ms. Owens has stated that she does not support the notion of George Floyd being portrayed as a martyr or a hero. The implication is that his involvement in the criminal injustice system and lack of accomplishment lowers his value as a human being. Really, Ms. Owens? How dare you attempt to judge the worth others have placed upon Mr. Floyd's life? How dare you attempt to assess the legitimacy of America's grief, empathy, and disenchantment? Isn't the devaluation of black life one of the issues we are trying to overcome? He was a father. He was a son. He was a brother. He was a cousin. What about the people who ran full court basketball games with him? Just enjoyed being out and working with him as a teammate. What about the rap fans who knew him as Big Floyd, his influence in black culture? His death touched the souls of his countrymen. His life illuminates the difficulty of black existence in America. Miss Owens, as a superstar leader of your generation, this was an unacceptable backslide into the mentality that viewed the value of black bucks by their monetary contribution to white supremacy wealth. Miss Owens, you owe the family and empathizers of George Floyd an apology. These are contentious, divisive, combative times in America. The anger, hate, aversion, and hostility flows as poisonous venom when the arteries of our sacred democracy. This nation is at war. This war is being waged economically, politically, socially, and religiously. This is a war between genders, between ethnic, racial differences, between divergent values, between disparate beliefs, between husband, wife, families, between generations, between educational status distinctions, between income, property, and asset level divisions. In the movie Glory, starring Denzel and Matthew Broderick, set during the Civil War, which is a fight for America's soul, the colonel asked the ex-slave, "What can we do to make things right?" The ex-slave, Denzel being like he is, he said, "Nobody's clean, so we're all gonna have to ante up." Well, my fellow Americans, it's time to ante up. It's time to ante up. America's under siege. They, whoever that might be, they're poking holes in the boat. Young people are rioting due to a loss of faith in their country's future. The struggle of black existence in America has been usurped by deviant, wealthy power brokers to promote the dismantling of the American way of life. It's beyond a black thing or a white thing. It's beyond a Democratic thing or a Republican thing. It's beyond a wealthy thing or a poverty thing. It's about protecting and saving America. Black Americans have a 300-year investment in America's greatness. It was our slave labor, oppressed labor, imprisoned labor, segregated and unequal labor that contributed to the profit margins and the wealth enrichment that helps define America's greatness. I am inspired today by the spiritual bonding occurring between justice-loving black and white Americans. We should be ecstatic to have a superstar president who is in full combat with those forces seeking to distort the American dream. Thank God, the captain of this ship, President Donald Trump, is capable, competent, and committed to America's greatness. My fellow Americans, let's ante up and win this war to restore America's greatness. Thank you so very much for this audience. Please go to my website, thebasemind.com, Basemind, YouTube, Twitter. Subscribe, donate, contribute. Thank you so very much for listening. God bless you. God bless America. And God bless the believers. Thank you.